Hey guys, so I'm back with one more demo from the Lovecraftian days on Steam. Lovecraftian days 2024, I guess, right? April. We're in April, and this is called Omen Exitio, I think. Hunger. I have no fucking clue. I downloaded quite a few demos. Can see though. I think maybe there was a lot of reading or something in this one. Steamio. Steam. Right. Mr. Steamerson. Omen Exitio. Hunger. Forces beyond human comprehension drew a macabre wail over the icy New York, is it? Of 1927. A child has disappeared and you, a reporter with an unhappy past as an artist, become entangled in the drama. In this story, inspired by true events, actually, you will investigate between reality, dreams, and Lovecraftian horror. So this has actually got some kind of Lovecraftian theme to it. I can't guarantee that all the games have that, but they are featured on Lovecraftian days, as you can see up here. So yeah. I don't know what. I guess that's kind of the fun, right? To jump in and see what it is. I might like it. You might like it. Maybe you won't like it. Maybe I won't like it, and you will like it. Who knows? Who knows, dude? Okay. Anyways, if you would find this interesting. Okay, there's no release date, so sometime this year it's supposed to release though. Well, I guess we're going in, right? We're going in. So, new game. 1. 12th of February 1927, New York. Prologue. The stolen cars case. So we got a prologue here we get to play through. Probably. Most likely, right? Right. The stolen cars case. Okay. Got it. The gloomy afternoon sky has the color of cigarette smoke, capable of making you pinch your throat with the sweet need for nicotine. The outline of a large wooden house, apparently old and dilapidated, my bad, stands in front of the windshield, completing the cheerful picture of a terrible workday. Yo, what we supposed to get a guy that knows how to read to do this shit for us, yo? He's sick? It's life, dude. That's life. Alright. Next. It's not that strange, really. Riker Avenue is a place forgotten by God, where bare trees and wild animals rule the roost. The people who live there usually have dirty business to hide, and the junkyard you're investigating is no exception. This is like a reading game, dude. Maybe I should put my camera on the other side. It seems like the editor-in-chief is very interested in the stolen car recycling business, unlike you. Diary updated. Edward Thurber. What is that though? We can check it out. Oh shit, dude. Edward Thurber. My editor-in-chief at the New York Gazette. A newspaper he runs with rigor and shrewdness. Despite his inquisitive and sometimes overly affected manner, he loves art and is the only friend I have left from my old life in Boston. He believed in my potential as an artist and offered me a new job at the paper when my family died. Right, okay. Cool beans. Clues. No clues. Characters. Thurber. Locations. Riker Avenue. Rough and rather isolated area of Queens, where the John Mahoney junkyard sits. It is said to be one of the most important junkyards in the city. And obviously nobody lives in this place, which looks like it could collapse the first strong gust of wind. Right. Collectibles. We're not gonna care about collectibles, I think, are we? I don't know. Okay, editor-in-chief is very interested in this stolen car recycling business, unlike you. You park at a certain distance from the dilapidated house. For greater caution. According to your informant within the police, there shouldn't be anyone there until Monday. But caution is never too much. Right. You reach to the right to grab the folder containing all the information you have on the investigation. But your hand slips on the treacherous surface of the cardboard, which spills all its contents under the seat. Crap. I'm sitting in there, dude. You curse your own carelessness with several uncreative expressions like fuck, shit, piss, and cunt. And as you collect all the fallen papers from the mat, you come across, along with some sheets from old investigations now concluded, a little black covered booklet in your hand. Alright. What's up with that shit though? It's a diary that you had kept until a few months ago, and that you had filled with disjointed thoughts and philosophical reflections, helped by a few too many drinks. A rather unsuccessful project, given the unworthy end you had reserved for it. Abandoned and buried under the seat, as if it had never existed. Without even thinking about it, you start to leaf through the notebook with a distant look, letting the memories of the last few years cloud your vision. Right, cool. Nothing else here? So let's continue, I guess. That's the book. 15th of May in 1920. A Saturday. The first image that appears before you is that of a baby in swaddling clothes, held in the loving arms of a woman in bed. Your heart tightens at that memory, imprinted in your mind as if you had it right in front of your eyes. The most beautiful day of your life. In fact, of your life. You and your beloved Margaret, who until a little while ago were worried about the complications that the midwife had feared during the pregnancy, could now hold in your hands the fruit of your love. Young, unmarried, with none of your parents to support you, you had still decided to keep that little creature, which now appeared to you as the most beautiful and important thing in the universe. And precisely because in that period of the first daisies were sprouting, you had decided to call her Daisy.
Oh, hi Daisy, doodle doodle.
Alright. of May 1922 on a Friday. That's 2 years later, dude. The drawing shows the little door of the apartment below the one where you lived with Margaret at that time, in an old and poorly frequented alley near the cemetery. The place in Boston that you used to call your workshop. Painting was a passion for you, but not very lucrative. The few earnings came from occasional clients and the odd jobs that Margaret did. So when a very distinguished gentleman, had come to your door, you thought he was lost. Instead, he was an art critic from New York. His name was Edward Thurber, and he was struck by your precise and realistic representation of the nature of things, yet pregnant with the artist's feelings. He had therefore proposed that you present yourself at the Boston Art Circle. Right. So this guy. Choices. You have decided to exhibit paintings of landscape. You have decided to exhibit paintings of people. What's more interesting though? Like, I know for damn sure I think I would pick paintings, dude. Maybe people are more interesting. Let's go with people though. Exhibit paintings of people. So this is then, yeah, 8 days later, dude. And so many people had been able to see our paintings in this small exhibition. You were excited and had trouble speaking. But your new friend, with a nice glass of bourbon in his hand, was a great help, acting as curator of your own work. You smile as you think of the appreciation you have aroused in some of them. Elliot Thurber, the younger brother of your patron, had called them an excellent alternative to the cold mechanicality of photography, which fails to offer us the true personality of the subjects it portrays, except perhaps those of Heinz's social denunciations. After this event, you began to get some commissions. As the months went by, there were always a few clients who would come and ask for a painting, and that had enabled your family to survive comfortably for a few years. This is not my type of game at all, but it's kind of interesting. 24th of June, 1924, on a Tuesday. The sketch on that tear-stained, wavy paper depicts the three of you together, in a moment of happiness that had just seemed to have been cruelly snatched away by fate. No one knows exactly why that happened. The doctor had said he had warned you of the possibility, but you had preferred to ignore it. No, you had preferred to ignore it. Because you couldn't bear the thought of losing Daisy, and you had behaved as if nothing was wrong. Had this perhaps made the situation worse? Yet you had never let her want for anything. And she seemed so happy. At the funeral, Margaret had not shed a tear, remaining impassive in front of the small coffin, being lowered into the grave, under the gaze of a few other people. You had held her, but she had not shown any reaction, and at that precise moment, you had foreseen the end of everything. Diary. Daisy Pickman. The joy of my life, whom I loved more than anything in the world, a sweet, energetic, and always cheerful child, although her health was never perfect. Her untimely death cast a shadow over my life that still lingers today and from which I have no way of escaping. Okay. Dark. Or sad. Okay, we got some stuff from Margaret. Margaret Blanchard. My partner, whom I loved so much that I gave up all family ties to stay with her. I somehow survived Daisy's disappearance, but she did not. Since then my heart has somehow been closed, and although I have had several adventures since I came to New York, no woman has ever been able to replace her. Probably because it's not possible. Alright. One sketch depicts a plump, elderly man with a bushy beard, handing you a basket containing a black cat with one eye. That's a cat though. You had just moved into your current apartment in New York. He lived next door, but was moving to a new home where he couldn't keep his cat. He asked if you would be willing to take care of his loyal companion, telling you that if you fed him, he would immediately become attached to you. Typical cat. You didn't know how much time your new job as a journalist offered by Thurber would require, or how long you would stay. But in the end, faced with that gentle little face, you gave in. And so, on the man's advice, you gave your unexpected friend a new name. Means like the first pharaoh who unified Egypt. Pluto like the god of the dead in classical mythology. Salem as the witch city from which your family. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. My cat's name is Salem, yo. Easy. July the 11th in 1925. On a Saturday, the portrait of Colin appears before you. He was the first friend you made in New York. I was about to say, who the fuck is Colin, dude? You were doing research for an article on some smugglers who were supposed to sell a batch of gin to be sent to Chicago. You knew the police would intervene, and you had gone to the scene well hidden and ready to observe the situation. But when the authorities intervened, a commotion broke out. One of the criminals started firing a machine gun, forcing the police to retreat, while his accomplices secured the load. One of the officers had fallen to the ground, wounded by a bullet. The aggressor had him at gunpoint, ordering his colleagues not to play any tricks. However, you were close enough to intervene.
Hands up, motherfucker.
You made noise to attract attention. You attacked the aggressor and threw him to the ground. Would you do that? If you saw that shit, would you attack the aggressor? If you had a gun? Like, think about it. Would you really? Are you that brave? I'm not sure if I am, dude. I don't know, man. Dude. I'm gonna go with you made noise to attract attention. Yeah, call me a pussy. I don't know. That's what I'm choosing, though. We made noise to attract attention. July the 11th. So, same day, dude, right? No, stupid. Yeah, same day. So, that's what... forget it, dude. You started banging your fist. Right, we're continuing where we left off on the other one. You started banging your fist on the surface of the container behind which you were hiding, making noise to get attention. Caught off guard by the noise, the criminal had started firing blindly in your direction. It was at that moment that the stray bullet hit you in the leg. You had heard other gunshots, but the pain had blinded you, causing you to lose consciousness. When you woke up, the man that the criminal was threatening, and for whom you had intervened at the expense of your life, was in the bed next to yours. Right. He's not dead. He had introduced himself as Detective Colin Wright. You had smiled and introduced yourself as well. During those days of convalescence... I'm sorry, English is not my first language. I'm learning. Since he himself had to recover from a nasty wound, you had the opportunity to talk a lot. It was then that you realized you had found a friend in that big city. However, someone else had written the article. Right. Colin, my first friend in New York. Continue. Alright, Colin, dude. There he is. The first and only friend I made in New York. Oh, only friend. I saved his life during a robbery I was supposed to be a bystander to, and we have been close ever since. We also work together on a professional level. He gives me some insight into police cases, and I do the same for the paper's investigations. But he is always afraid that his superiors might find out, though he is obsessed with discretion. Right, cool. Call in. This might be a good way to get into reading if you're not very into books or reading in particular, I guess. Don't you think? Kinda helps that you have some images and shit like that and can push some buttons and stuff. You close your eyes and the journal in unison, chasing away memories of the past with a deep sigh. You put the journal back in its place and focus on the real reason for your presence on Riker Avenue. You look out the window at the incessant icy drizzle that has begun to water the earth. Is that snow? You snort and regret not having brought an umbrella. You then go back through the papers in your folder, checking that you are in the right place and summarizing any information that might be useful.
Looks so cool with that cigarette in his mouth, man. Yeah.
John Mahoney is the classic dodgy character who dresses up stolen cars and then sells them to the highest bidder. An uninteresting and moderately dangerous item. The worst combination.
John Mahoney, man.
I was about to say Gomez from Adam's Family. Like...
A bad guy who launders cars between Queens and the Bronx.
He started out helping bigger criminals than himself, but then managed to strike out on his own. And now the police are hot on his trail to frame him. He's got people helping him with his dirty work, and he's generally pretty careful to keep a low profile. So finding any evidence that compromises him will be very helpful to the investigation and to my research. You get out of the car and find yourself in the middle of a ghostly landscape littered with car wrecks. The forest gives way to a sort of open-air rubbish dump, in the center of which stands the big house. The undisputed queen of all the wreckage. Right. Yo, dude, sorry, I had 2 fucking hamburgers and fries for dinner today. I'm like, ugh. Right, the force with which it stands out against the desolate sky is almost painful to the eyes. While the wind carries the mournful squeaks of rotting wood, which in all seems to defy the weather and the cruelty of time. Richard Pickman. Quaint indeed. You make the comment half-mouthed and sarcastically, warded of the need to smoke a cigarette to relieve your nervousness. Compared to Manhattan, this place is incredibly alien. It seems so far away from civilization, but you know you wouldn't have to go that far to reach the sea, with its harbors and ships. Searching for clues, you pass the tin cemetery and find yourself on one side of the house. Your watchful gaze gliding from side to side, hoping to uncover some information that will end your investigation as soon as possible. Right. Oh. Objective. I have to find evidence for stolen cars. Alright, so this is like point and click shit, dude. Evidence for stolen cars. Let's start with the fucking car. Stop. Seriously? I lost the first part. I always thought I was not sophisticated enough for a Chrysler. Seriously, dude, I can't read the first part again. Okay, so we gotta be careful with that. Enough, car. Enough. So, no clues though. Car ain't no fucking clue, dude. Okay, and what's the stall though? What the fuck? What's a doll doing on a branch? I'm not aware that Mahoney has any children. Doll. Creepy little bastard, this one. Riker Avenue doll. A doll found on Riker Avenue. Sprung up on the branch of a tree. It looks rather old and shabby, but judging by the fact that it is not discolored by the weather, it has probably only been placed there for a short time. Right, so that's also a collectible. So why? Why a doll? On a tree? Paint. He repaints cars, or a can of black paint. Well, I wouldn't repaint the living room walls with it.
The cars were black back then, right? Gangster car.
I wonder if they make all the cars the same color. Maybe because black goes with everything. Right. We can't do shit with that though. I don't know if it even... Nope. Alright.
You check out this barrel, Leo.
It seems that someone has been burning some rubbish here. Okay. Right. I can't reach the bottom of the barrel. If I only could. How hard is that to reach the bottom of a fucking barrel, dude? You can just flip it over, man. Come on. Well, I said I had my... I'd say I've had my fair share of exercise for today. By flipping over a barrel. Now let's see what we have here though. Burnt fabric. Looks like clothes. Did I burn them to keep warm? No. It's winter, but it's not that cold. There must be something underneath. Looking through the burnt out rubbish, the anticipation of this wonderful day was palpable. Burnt clothes. Some burnt pieces of cloth. I think they might be the remains of clothes, but there is hardly anything left. The fire has almost completely devoured them, along with all the contents of the barrel they were in. You can still make out the color. Some are black or grey, some are blue. Really too little to say anything else. Right. A rock? Why a rock? It's a large stone. I don't think it stands much of a chance against a rifle. But it's certainly better than my knuckles. Right. So we got a weapon, yo. We got a weapon. So can we click that and weapon in the head of someone? The bolt on the door is completely corroded. You must find out what they are hiding inside. But if it's completely corroded... Has anyone been in there though? Lately? We're using the stone, dude. It takes a well-struck blow. Perfect. It was certainly more useful here than on Mahoney's head. And less illegal.
A lantern.
It is less dusty than all the other junk around here. It has probably been used recently. Right. Will they work at night? Doesn't sound very clever to me.
A hammer.
Could have used that outside, but that's a bit too late though. It's a bit too late, dude. Right. Oh, looky here. And looky here. And look at this. A wheel. Is that a car wheel? A wagon wheel. Yeah, I was a bit unsure because... You know, back in the days. A wagon wheel. I wonder if they paint the horses too. Yeah. I don't know, dude. Coins. Plates. I would say that these plates are not here for collecting. I have what I need to close this damn investigation. Right, the proof I was looking for, but what about this though? I'm curious if this Mahoney's private stash, or if he's reselling bottles at a premium. They are full of gasoline, some of them are ready to indulge in pyromania to sweep the dust under the carpet. A butcher's cleaver? Who knows what that poor ladder did to Mahoney to deserve this? Perhaps there is some detail I missed. I'd better have another look. Quick little look here, dude. We can't go in. We're not supposed to go inside the house. I think we're good though. Right? Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. Continue though. Oh, I missed something still. No, wait. I can choose. Leave. There might... There's probably something. There's always something. As you make your way through the undergrowth, a sudden noise catches your attention. It sounds like a sort of heavy squeaking, but it lasts barely a moment. It came from the house. You're sure of that? So, there is someone? Was the information you were given wrong? You can feel the adrenaline pumping through your veins, and your investigative spirit rising. This could be the perfect opportunity to catch John Mahoney or one of his henchmen red-handed, although such a gamble might mean playing heads or tails with the possibility of having a gun pointed at you. A more tempting prospect than returning to the newsroom with nothing more than a pile of forged license plates. You strain your ears to hear other sounds, but silence hangs over the dump and the shack. So following your desire for knowledge, you approach the dilapidated hovel. Try to enter through the door. I don't consider that a smart move, do you? Peek through the window. You walk around the house looking for a window from which you can get a good view. It will be harder to see anything, but at least you will be in a safe position. Some of the windows are obscured by peeling shutters. Others look out on completely empty rooms. In one you can see a moldy sofa and a rickety table with some rubbish on it, but nothing else. Finally, there is a small window at the back. Its glass cracked but clean enough to peer inside. On the other side of the glass, you see a small room full of piles of junk. The first thing you notice, illuminated by the only beam of light that enters the room, is some sort of overalls, crumpled and abandoned on the floor. Handsuit. Your gaze continues to follow the bright blade, chasing across the wooden floor until it crosses the silhouette of a child. That's a fucking child, dude. And a fucking knife. Handsuit. I saw a handsuit in the same room on Riker Avenue where the child was devoured. Well, strange, since the rest of the rubbish that had accumulated there was all household items. I vowed to investigate. We gotta get inside, dude. You blink and sharpen your gaze, shocked by the bizarre vision you see through the encrusted glass. But it does not change, it still presents the same image, this child embedded in the stark shadows of the shack. The first thing you can think of is to make sure the baby is okay, but your eyes cannot help but debunk all the lies you are trying to tell yourself. The baby is completely naked, curled up in an unnatural position, and there is blood. Lots of blood. You squint and back away for a moment. What kind of place did Thurber send you to? It was only supposed to be the lair of a car thief, and not the scene of a fucking nightmare, dude. Did they open that fucking door now? You're still trying to process the image of the child covering in the reddish puddle when the door to the room begins to open, forcing you to shift your gaze to the figure emerging from the dark doorway. What the fuck is that shit, dude? Look at it, dude. Oh, and it's... Ah, crap. This is not going to end well, dude. It looks about the size of a man, but the resemblance to humanity ends with this tragic realization. Its skin is whitish and wrinkled, like cloths left to soak in water too long. Dry rolls of dermis piled on top of each other. Give me a sec. Hanging disgustingly in small spongy pyramids. A strange rhythmic noise leads you to the lower limbs of the beast, slender and thin, culminating in the hooves of a horse. The hands are inhabited by thread-like, sharp claws, and the snout is a circular cavern lined with fangs, bathed in a vicious slime. You don't know how to interpret what you see. Perhaps you are going mad, or perhaps the stress of recent times is playing tricks on you. You still can't wrap your head around it, as you watch the creature leap at its inert victim and begin to ravage the wretched remains of the child with greedy eagerness. But then the creature suddenly freezes, sniffing the air for a moment. He's onto us. With exasperating slowness, it turns its snout towards the window and swallows a piece of meat with a disgusted twitch of its round jaw. He looks... The monster walks at a slow, cadenced pace towards the window, bringing the wrinkled lump of blood and skin closer to your face. It has no eyes, but you can feel it staring at you. Kinda maybe the same feeling you would get if you were looking straight on a Xeno. Your body reacts suddenly and instinctively, while your mind is still caught up in the horror you have just witnessed. You sprint off the porch and start running without looking back, barely stopping yourself from screaming at the top of your lungs, combining the sound of your terror with the sound of shattering glass and a scream that does not associate the beast behind you with any creature of the animal kingdom. Your muscle seems to remember where you parked, and soon you are in the driver's seat, turning the key with sweaty, trembling hands. Your vision is so blurred that you have to try a couple of times before you succeed, each time with increasing breathlessness, fearing that the creature will charge at the car. Fuck shit. On the third, desperate attempt, the key finds their place and the engine starts to roar, with a sound that seems so damn reassuring at the moment. You make a dangerous U-turn, skid brutally, and find yourself imagining this running thing trying to grind a few meters, separating its giant claws from your body. You don't have to wait for the scene to really dawn on you. Your foot presses down hard on the accelerator and you can almost hear his jaw drop as your trusty car speeds away from Riker Avenue. Woo! Close call, dude. Yo! Close call. There's a lot of reading, man. Reading out loud is worse than reading for yourself. Only a few miles from the junkyard house, you resume breathing with a semblance of normality. It's as if your heart won't stop beating wildly, and it's only now that you realize you're probably in danger of having a heart attack. You survived, and that is the most important thing, but the memory of what you saw is imprinted on your pupils. An image that will never go away. You clutch the steering wheel with your bloodless hands, occasionally letting out audible gasps, trying to relieve the tension that still pervades you, but not to avail. Your shirt is drenched in sweat, and yet you are shaken by cold shivers as if you had a fever. The first time you manage to take a deep breath is when the rain begins to pound on the windows of your car with the force of an unusual summer downpour. At that moment you see in the distance, like an impressionist painting interrupted by the storm, the island of Manhattan, so reassuring with its light cutting through the surrounding darkness. Every now and then you instinctively check your rear view mirror, terrified at the thought of this absurd creature following you. You know it is completely irrational, but your brain is still reeling from what you have witnessed. That monster looked fucking sick though. Huh? I would piss my fucking pants, dude. Like literally piss my pants. Monsters do not exist, you tell yourself, except in books and in the beliefs of the superstitious and the mad. But no costume could ever so perfectly simulate what you had seen. It was too natural to be an artifice. And the blood, all that fucking blood, dude. That too, like the child's body, looked so damn real. You are not even sure if the images flashing before your eyes are the ones you witnessed, or if they are the product of your own distraught mind. He's fucking devouring that child, dude. Eating it. What haunts you in the midst of this chaos of emotions is that you did nothing for this child. Was he really dead, or could he have been saved? Would we have got a fucking other... would we have gotten another story if we have chosen to go inside the house? Do you think we could have saved? Or could he have been saved? Could you have saved him from the monster's clutches? Perfect time for a sneeze, right? Would it have been worth facing that creature, if only to die a hero? Yeah. For a fucking kid? Yeah, I think so. Don't you? But you never fucking know what you would have done until you end up in a situation like that. I have no clue what I would have done, really, to be honest. No fucking clue. You can give yourself none of these answers, and the lump that forms in your throat sweeps away all but one thought. Do we have anything on that shit, though? Probably not. Nope. You have abandoned a child to the cruelest of fates. Applause, please. Dude, this shit got dark, dude. Again. Again. Because my kid's dead too. This guy is having a rough fucking night, dude. You cross the bridge that leads to Manhattan Island, and you cannot help but admire the majestic skyscrapers that greeted you in the distance. The luminary of the big city will help you chase away the tormenting visions of the hovel as you head towards the dizzying streets of New York. There is a certain comfort in that, though. There are no monsters here, just busy men, probably fathers, eager to get home to their wives and children. And so your thoughts return to the naked form of the child. You pull over to the side of the road in a quiet place, before resting your forehead on the handlebars. Take a new series of deep breaths and try to regain full control of your body. Richard Pickman, how the hell is that even possible? You want to ask yourself what you have done wrong to deserve this experience, but there are too many valid answers crowding your mind. So much so that your throat tightens in a deadly grip as your eyes glaze over with tears. You cannot do this alone. You don't know how many people in Manhattan. You don't know many people in Manhattan, my bad. But you have a few trusted friends, though. You need to talk to someone before your head explodes and you go mad. Alright. We can choose. We can choose. Jeez, we played this shit for 45 minutes already. Colin or Thurber. Colin. What do you guys think? Copper. Newspaper dude. He's gonna go crazy about the story and shit. That was kind of the point. Up until we found that fucking child and all that shit. So should we go visit Colin maybe? We're going number of choices available for this phase of the day. What? We're going Colin if it's possible though. This is the police station where Colin Wright, your friend and informant, works. He would certainly listen to your story, but would he believe it? Like, I was just thinking about that. Will he fucking believe that shit? How good friends are we, really? Like, I saved his ass, but... Still though, you never fucking know, do you? Hey yo, looks like Norway. You know, Sweden. Fucking Russia. Let's try it though. I'm so full, man. I ate so much today. New York, February the 12th, 1927. Act 1. Cities of Secrets and Shadows. And this is probably where it ends.
It's getting dark, but Fifth Avenue is as busy as ever.
Alright. So we got to play a bit more. I was thinking like these demo games that we're gonna play them for like 30 minutes or something. This was kind of interesting though, even though I would never fucking pick this up, I think. Probably not, I would never have bought this game. But it's a great game if you kind of want to play a game but you don't want to play a game. You want to read instead. Or something. Relax. It is getting dark, but Fifth Avenue is as busy as ever. You drive past the police headquarters where your informant Colin Wright works. And as far as you can tell from the outside, it doesn't seem to be very busy. You find a car park a short distance away and slump in your seat for a moment, thinking hard about what to do. Colin is not only the person who passes on otherwise confidential news to you within the police force, but he is also the best friend you have found since you arrived in New York. After all, you saved his life, or at least suffered a very serious injury for him, and he remembers that very well. Yeah, it was kind of a lucky shot that we saved his life though. We were banging on a container. That's why you trust him and know he'll listen to your story without blinking an eye. While you are still trying to think of the right words, you notice a policeman sticking a flyer on a lamppost. The rain stops for a few minutes and you can make out a tiny figure on the paper. Your heart skips a beat and a sinking feeling creeps into your mind, but you wait for the officer to walk away before you open the door and step out. Your body protesting vehemently, still aching from the accumulated tension. Your body protesting vehemently. I know what it means, but... Okay. You look at the flyer for a long time and breathe a sigh of relief. It is a report of a missing child. But the one picture looks very small indeed. 2 years old at most. It's certainly not the same one you saw being torn apart by that monster. Was that kid older? But it says 4 years though. Is that an old picture of him? 40 lbs, I don't know how much that is in kilograms though. Oh, my bad. My bad. But as soon as you start to read the inscriptions on the paper, your eyes open wide. Among the various characteristics of the child printed on the paper, his age stands out. 4 years old. Billy Gaffney. The photograph is obviously old. Today the child must be older. I should be a fucking detective, yo. And this knowledge weighs heavily on your mind as you try to reconstruct the features of the defenseless little body, abandoned in a pool of blood, on the smiling drawing of the child on the post. I should not be a detective, by the way. Billy Gaffney, dude. 4 years old, blue eyes, light complexion, and brown hair. At the time of his disappearance, around 5:30 p.m. on February 11th, 1927, he was wearing blue... The barrel, dude, with the clothes in him. That was burned. Blue jodhpurs. I don't know what the fuck that is. A grey shirt, socks, and black shoes. I fear he may be the child I saw being eaten on Riker Avenue. Okay. At the bottom of the poster you find the address of the family. That at the time of his disappearance, he was wearing a blue suit and black trousers, no coat or hat, and that the only distinguishing feature was a small scar on his lip. You try to convince yourself that this is a coincidence. After all, there are many children who disappear every day in New York. Children of illegal immigrants, children abandoned by their own mothers, or unwitting victims of a settling of scores. And this child was from Brooklyn, a long way from the old shack on Riker Avenue. Abandoned by their own mothers. Fuck that shit. And yet, despite your best efforts, you can't shake the thought that this couldn't have been just a coincidence. You look at the entrance to the station and study it for a long moment. You and Colin have been exchanging information under the table for almost a year now. And you have your rituals, your favorite place to chat, away from the prying eyes of his colleagues. However, this is an emergency. You cannot wait until your next meeting, but you also know that if his superiors found out about your little arrangement, your friend would most likely lose his job, if not worse. You also have no idea if he is on duty that night. Police station. New York Central Police Station on 5th Avenue, the beating heart of justice in the Big Apple. Which, to continue with that fine metaphor, would be a nest of maggots slowly eating away at it, given the high level of corruption among the agents. I've never had first-hand experience of this, but it's all first-hand accounts. Once inside, you are hit by the hot, stale air of the place. A collection of uniformed human bodies darting from side to side, while your ears are assaulted by a myriad of voices, talking over each other, trying to get through the constant ringing of telephones. Now you have to decide what to do. Making a complaint in the normal way to the first available policeman would not risk exposing your relationship with Colin. After all, no matter how upset you are, this is still infanticide. On the other hand, you've seen something you can't yet digest, and perhaps only Colin wouldn't think you crazy. You could look for him among the officers and pretend to meet him by chance, hoping to look as natural as possible. You have never tried your hand at acting. I'm saying Colin. I wanna go find Colin. See if we can do that. So we're going after Colin. As you walk, you keep an eye out for the uniformed men who pass you by, hoping for a lucky break. There seems to be no sign of your friend, however, and the hellish confusion you have just slipped into seems to want to crush you into a claustrophobic maze with no way out. Then, Colin, as if from some unknown corner of purgatory, you see your friend emerge from the crowd. With great strides, Colin crosses the meters that separate you, avoiding his colleagues with a mastery that is almost unbelievable, all the while keeping a steady, rebellious gaze fixed on you. He greets you very formally, shakes your hand, and gives you a very insincere smile. Colin Bright. Ah, it's you. Please follow me. I will take your complaint as we agreed yesterday. He puts a hand on your shoulder to lead you to his desk, squeezing a little harder than you would have expected, making you jump. Colin, are you out of your mind? I knew it. He growls in a low voice, so that only you can hear him in the midst of the carnage. Within moments you arrive at your destination. A cubicle filled with paperwork, files an unprecedented amount of notes of all kinds, all spilled on one of the tables near the entrance to the police station. Colin, give me all the details. The man sits at his desk, maintaining a formal tone even though no one is paying attention. Richard Pickman, me. Well, you find yourself muttering softly, not quite sure what to say. Despite all the minutes you have taken to prepare a convincing speech, the words refuse to leave your tongue, blocked by something unseen that constricts your throat and leaves you gasping for air. Finally, with a great effort of will, you manage to get a few more words out. That anxiety, yo. Richard Pickman, I saw something terrible. I think a child was killed. Colin's eyes widen for a moment before he returns to staring at the complaint form to be filled in. The realization of the words you have just spoken hit you with the force of a speeding car. It is as if you have just made real what you saw in that hovel on Riker Avenue. It wasn't real before, just an image burned into your mind. Now it feels like the fire is actually burning. Colin Wright, so, as you said, this friend of yours refuses to return the books you lent him some time ago. I see. In fact, it amounts to theft. Theft! With this false statement, Colin rescues you from the abyss created by your words, in a tone of voice high enough to discourage any agent with a fine air. On the other hand, no one cares much about skirmishes between old friends, do they? You nod a little strangely while the other notes your data on the sheet with the mechanical precision of someone who is used to do this many times a day. Colin Wright, did you park nearby? He suddenly mumbles, so quiet you can barely hear him. You nod again and tell him where you parked your car. Colin Wright, give me 15 minutes and I'll join you. He says flatly, and then returns to a more formal tone, in which you can even detect a hint of annoyance, as if the detective manages to identify himself perfectly with the officer on duty, who is forced to listen to the whining of yet another ball breaker, irritated by this or that equally annoying person. Colin Wright, well, we'll see what we can do. Goodbye. With a handshake, you walk out of the station and quickly make your way to your car. Woo! Colin opens the door of your car and gets into the passenger seat. You couldn't help noticing how cautious he was about this simple action, almost as if he expected to be spied on. Sometimes you think he's exaggerating a bit, but maybe it's just professional deformation. Without saying a word, he waves you off, and you start your car and dive back into Manhattan's evening traffic, under a downpour that doesn't seem to want to stop. The two of you remain silent for a while. You have been in this situation before, where your friend waits until he is far enough away from his place of work to be comfortable with the conversation. You sigh with a vein of irritation, as if to remind yourself that the station is a long way away, and you have been circling for a few minutes now. Alright, Colin, right. Let's see. You said you saw a child killed. Tell me everything. His eyes are full of anticipation, and you can see why. Colin is a family man with 2 young children, so it's not surprising that the news seems almost personal to him. Come to think of it, one of the things his superiors often accuse him of is getting too emotionally involved in the cases he follows. Not that you think that is a bad thing, so you take a deep, calm breath. Remember the junkyard on Riker Avenue? I saw him being devoured by a monster. I have a hunch it was William Gaffney. Should we try that one? I want to say this one though, but I'm afraid he will think I'm a maniac. This one is the most normal, I guess. Let's try this though. I have a hunch it was William Gaffney. The policeman wrinkles his nose and frowns, one of his classic expressions of concern. Colin Wright, all of Brooklyn is an uproar over his disappearance. Are you sure you don't get that impression? I mean, the picture of the flyer is old and, I might add, useless, and besides, Queens isn't exactly around the corner. A lot of kids go miss. Richard Pickman. I know what you're going to say. I thought about it too. Oh crap. But the one I saw die in that house was the same age, and the times coincided. He sighs and shakes his head. It seems obvious to you that at this moment he wants you to stay calm and think about it, to show you that you are making a mistake. But you know what you have seen. I found items matching Gaffney's on Riker Avenue. Gaffney was devoured by a monster. Trust me, I know what I saw. Try this then. I found items matching Gaffney's on Riker. Colin looks at you again, and this time you notice a shadow of awe and understanding on his face that wasn't there before. He's a policeman. It's obvious that he needed something concrete to give your testimony a chance. After all, he's been used to collecting useless complaints and mythomaniac tales every week for years. He looks at you waiting for further explanations. Richard Pickman, there was a barrel near the shed with burnt material in it. I found bits of blue and grey cloth, which I read were the colors of the clothes Gaffney was wearing when he disappeared. I got the impression that this was done to get rid of some evidence. I understand, but it could have been any other dress, or a curtain, or in the same place where a child of the same age as the missing one was killed, at such a short distance. The policeman sighs and stares out the window for a few moments, as if counting the drops of water breaking on the glass. You're right, it's too odd, he says. Colin frowns and mutters something thoughtful. We are playing a demo, right? Holy fuck, dude. It's long. Let's see, Colin Wright. William Gaffney. You say nothing, but you notice that your friend is using the same arguments as you. You know he is still not convinced. In fact, he is not convinced at all. But he is seriously giving you the benefit of the doubt, which is what you would expect him to do. Colin. Alright, what do you say we get back to it? Mahoney must still be out of town. Let's see what we can find out about reality. The thought of going to Riker Avenue so soon after meeting the monster sends a chill down your spine, and your stomach clenches. Your first reaction would be to shout a sharp no, or ask Colin to call for reinforcements, but all you can do is nod and turn to head back to that cursed place. Probably the right thing to do, also the most dangerous. On the last stretch of road, Colin advises you to turn off your headlights, just in case. And you obey. As soon as the spot where you parked the car the first time appears, you repark almost mechanically, but not without a certain amount of unease. It almost seems as if you are retracing your own steps again, and maybe this time the monster will really catch up with you. You shake your head as you turn off the engine and look at the policeman, trying to take comfort in his presence. At last, this time you are not alone, and your companion has 6 shots in the chamber. Load a 6-pounder! See you. You both get out of the car, now that the rain has finally stopped, and move with extreme caution. Everything is dark around you, but the cloudy sky provides enough light for you to move between the car wrecks without stumbling. Okay. Colin looks at the dilapidated house, shrouded in darkness, and listens. Dilapidated. You do the same, but hear nothing from inside. But you can't shake the fear that the creature is hiding somewhere. And your heart beats wildly as you approach the house.
Look at them guys with that slick hair.
Just then, your friend pulls out a torch. The beam of light pierces the darkness and blinds you for a moment. You flinch and whisper to Colin in a low voice, afraid someone might hear you. Didn't realize you brought it, did you? Let's just say it was left in my hand after the rounds. You wanted me to set fire to a piece of wood. I can't see a thing around there, and I'm pretty sure nobody's home. Let's go in. Let's say hello. You approach the building, and he lights up the ground in front of you. Suddenly he stops as if something has caught his attention, and notices that the beam of light has stopped on some loose earth at the foot of a tree. Colin, could be nothing. Maybe a dog buried something there, but better have a look. You hold the torch as he grabs the wet mound and begins to move it handful by handful with a skill and mechanicality that makes you wonder how many times he has done this. You don't have to wait long before he pulls out what appears to be a pair of small shoes, which he cleans as best he can from the sticky mud and grass. Buried shoes. A pair of children's shoes found buried in Ricker Avenue. They look well cared for. Maybe even new, but someone has scribbled on them with colored wax crayons. The little owner, I'm guessing. Oh, those. Did you see the scribbles? Well, I would say that this is indeed bizarre. He stands up and wipes his hands on the underside of his uniform. Then picks up his torch and signals for you to follow. The porch creaks slightly as you step onto it to face the entrance to the house, and at the slightest touch of the policeman's hand, the door opens in front of you. Okay, we're going in. I don't want to go in. A narrow corridor opens up before you, lit only by the torchlight. Contrary to what you might expect, the entrance is quite clean, and the walls appear to be freshly painted in white. Suddenly the old floor creaks beneath their feet, followed by Colin's mute cursing, though there are no sounds to indicate that others are listening. Colin is quite scrupulous in searching from room to room, and you stand beside him, almost clinging like a brat to his mother's skirts. As much as you already know perfectly well that what you will find in those rooms, you shudder at the thought of what might lurk in the last one. The light from the torch illuminates the collapsed inner staircase, and your friend lingers for a long moment. Colin, you can't get through here. Maybe we can try the outside balustrade when we come out. You lose yourself in the shattered and torn steps, imagining for a moment the beast leaping across the entire floor to the one above. In the process, you lose focus on your feet, which stumble awkwardly over something abandoned on the floor. You hiss inappropriately as you bend down to pick up the object that nearly knocked you to the floor. A book. Fucking Bible, dude. It's always the fucking Bible. Bibles, fuses, locked doors, keys. Colin, who was illuminating the first room on the right, immediately turns to you and points his torch at you. The beam of light immediately reveals the simple cross stamped on the cover, and a quick glance at the first few pages confirms your suspicion. A Bible. What the hell is it doing in the middle of the corridor? Colin, what the hell are you doing? Didn't you see outside? This place is worse than a dump. Watch your step and follow me. Richard. Wait, Colin. There's something strange about this book. There's stains on. Colin literally snatches the tome from your hands. Then opens it, and shines his own torch through it. You both immediately notice that some of the pages are marked in several places by various pencil writings. But the policeman immediately gasps as he rubs his fingers over what at first glance appears to be a hole between the pages. Jesus, he says. Without adding anything, the detective removes the light beam from the Bible, stuffs it into his uniform pocket, and continues his inspection of the scene. You, on the other hand, promise to ask him to look at it when you get back to the car. You have never seen your friend react like this, and you do not want this clue to end up in the police files, from where it will never return. You enter the narrow hallway, which is overlooked by a couple of doors. In the one on the left, there is only a moldy sofa and a shabby coffee table, a remnant of time when someone actually lived in the house. The first room on the right, on the other hand, opens onto an empty space with only a chair in one corner. Finally, you come to the last small room, a room that in itself gives a feeling of claustrophobia, made worse by the fact that it's full of junk stacked on top of each other. Without saying a word, you instinctively point to the spot where you remember seeing the child's motionless body, imagining that you will find its remains. But when the light illuminates the ground, there are no shreds of flesh or severed limbs. In a way, you feel relieved, but you can already imagine Colin starting to rant about how you made it all up. Instead, though, the policeman remains silent and bows to the ground. Colin, there is something here. Traces of blood. Richard, do you believe me now? He sighs, not quite knowing what to say. The situation is objectively strange, but again you put yourself in his skin and realize that he would need something more concrete. Colin, the blood doesn't even look old, but the first thing that comes to mind is that this was settling of scores, maybe. Richard, don't you think there's still enough to get Mahoney arrested? He must know something about it. The policeman nods and seems quite convinced. Colin, you know what, Gaffney or not, I've been on this case for far too long, so yes, I'll make do with that blood and try to squeeze out as much information as quickly as possible. Otherwise, I risk seeing my daughter get married before that jerk ends up in jail. By now I even dream about those stolen cars at night. So, you leave the shack. Much to your relief, it is about to rain again, but your friend has not forgotten the upper floor, and you watch as, with an agility you did not suspect, he places his feet on the railing and lifts himself up to the roof. He points his torch at you and tells you to wait there, so you can see the light shining into the rooms you have not visited. I'm betting he's gonna disappear, dude. You approach the porch, resting a hand on one of the wooden pillars supporting the sloping roof. Only after a few moments do you realize that you are holding your breath, waiting to hear something from up there. Your mind conjures up horrifying scenarios of your friend's heartbreaking screams breaking the silence of the night, but you banish those visions and cling even tighter to the column. To relieve the anxiety, you try to think of the next steps, first the Bible and second Mahoney. All you have to do is wait for the policeman to arrest him. After a few minutes, you hear Colin descend with a thud and approach calmly, allowing you to breathe a sigh of relief. Colin, nothing. I'm a bit disappointed, but then again, it doesn't look like anyone's been up there for ages. There was such a layer of dust that it felt like London in fog, given the amount of grey it was. You get into the car and drive back to Manhattan, but the thought of that book continues to haunt you. You can't help but stare at it as Colin holds it in his lap, one hand resting on the cover. Then you work up the courage to ask what you have been thinking about for so long. Richard, do you mind if I take it? I'd like to have a look at it, then I'll give it back to you before you make the arrest. You don't need it to frame Mahoney, do you? The policeman snorts and turns the object back over in his hands. Colin, trust me, forget it. I think you've gotten into something much bigger than yourself. And it was partly my fault for giving you this info, but I couldn't imagine. I understand why you feel so involved in this affair, but leave it to us. I promise that if we find out anything about what happened on Riker Avenue, I will let you know. Crap. You sigh in annoyance, but you have no argument though. Colin has always been very accepting of you, but you understand that there are limits beyond which he does not wish to be pushed. However, you have little faith in the investigative skills of his colleagues. Oh, you're finally home. It seems unreal that you have finally reached your apartment at the end of such a crazy and dangerous day. Your one-bedroom apartment is far from luxurious, and in some ways, you never really felt that it belongs to you. You live there for a few years now, but it's as if it's something temporary, until you can go back to Boston or find a new job and a new life somewhere else. You have no idea. This thought grips you every time you cross the threshold, but you can find no peace for this torment. The only touches of you are the art books carefully arranged on the wall shelf, and a small painting of you with Margaret hanging in the bedroom. Even that only weighs on your heart. You will never get used to how much your life has changed in such a short time, and how much pain it has caused you. Maybe you should just throw the picture away, but you can't. With an automatic, almost ritualistic gesture, you fill a glass of water left on the sink and pour it into the vase of daisies you keep on your desk during the day. You watch the flowers slowly wilt. Their beautiful white petals are beginning to show the brown spots that herald their fading. You don't have time to lose yourself in the melancholy that grips your heart each time you return. What the fuck was that sound, dude? Because as soon as you put your things on your desk, you feel something rubbing against your legs, making you start. With all that has happened to you, you had almost forgotten the one comforting element in this house. Salem, dude. Your black cat is looking at you with one eye as he continues to torment your legs and meow persistently. You've been gone too long, and now he's really hungry. He must not have found any mice or birds in the street today. Salem, dude. This one-eyed cat, given to me by a neighbor as soon as I arrived in New York, has been my faithful companion for the past few years. His presence makes life in my apartment much more bearable, and sometimes I feel that he takes care of me as much as I take care of him. You, on the other hand, have no appetite, so what you do is open a tin of meat and divide it in half, putting one half in the bowl and the other half on a slice of bread. It's not that it's strange for you to eat this way, as your accomplices are short of time, and your salary is mostly used to pay the rent. As you chew, you watch Salem swallow the last bite, glances at the window you always leave half open for him, and then decides he would rather be with you than go out. He then jumps into your arms and starts making pasta, while the sound of his purring spreads through the air. He then jumps into your arms and starts making pasta. What? You scratch his ear, and he begins to tilt his head back in response, as if inviting you to continue. You watch as he bends it down further and further, so much so that you smile at the thought of that it might be difficult to continue cuddling him when he falls out of his chair, in the bliss painted on his face. You are left with a mixture of dust, dirt, and what appears to be bits of green paint on your fingers. You sigh and look at it again. Richard, look how dirty you are. Where have you been today? Like all male cats, Salem is a globetrotter and cannot help but go out every day to explore. But he always comes home. He is incredibly loyal to you and never fails to show his affection. You feel really exhausted after this day. The second-hand gramophone that you managed to pick up at the bargain price sits on the coffee table, staring at you as if it were inviting you to relax with its music. But no, you don't have the strength to do anything other than throw yourself onto your bed. As you approach the mattress, your strength fails you and you fall back onto it. You feel the blood pounding in your temples like a drum, and you barely manage to grab the sheets and pull them over you. You probably have a fever. That wouldn't be surprising considering what you've been through. Could all this really have been the results of an illness? What if it was a delusion? Or was I dreaming? No. Your head hurts too much. Before you close your eyes, you take one last look at the picture of you and Margaret. And your breathing becomes even harder. You sink your head into the pillow and try to let go of all these thoughts, to finally find peace in sleep. The warmth of the spring sun caresses your face as the grass brushes against your fingertips, tickling you pleasantly. You don't know what's taking Margaret so long. In fact, you can't even remember what she's doing. But deep down you're glad to have some time alone with Daisy. In fact, it might be time to see where she's gone. You get up reluctantly and begin to stroll through this garden, surrounded by luxuriant shrubs, under the heroic and pompous gaze of the classical statues, which almost seem to condemn your listless laziness, as if they had never known the sweet tranquility of an afternoon spent relaxing with their families. The whole place is filled with the sweet scent of roses, lilacs and honeysuckle. Not that you're a botanical expert, but Margaret has always had a green thumb, which has served you well in painting some of your favorite landscapes. After passing the statue of a young Bacchus, mutilated in his umpteenth celebration of alcohol and carnal pleasure, you find your little Daisy not far from an armless, ivy-covered Venus. She seems to be picking flowers, so you stop to watch her, not daring to disturb her moment of serenity. Then the little girl's figure is overshadowed by a vaguely human silhouette, whose presence blocks the warm rays of the afternoon light. The little girl does not seem to notice, even though the atmosphere has suddenly become colder, as if a winter wind has invaded this corner of paradise. You try to reach out and call for Daisy, but the muscles of your mouth twitch and wane, as if your lips had been sewn together with a strange vicious thread of indistinguishable taste. In front of your startled eyes, a whitish glimmer slips past your vision, a large white silhouette standing between you and your little girl. In the blink of an eye, your daughter and the figure disappear into thin air. The beautiful garden is falling into disrepair. The weeds have invaded every space, devouring everything they can with the rakish, chaotic greenish offshoots in a reconquest that has little natural about it. Tendrils dried into knots that should be impossible. Whirling vines that unravel in tight spirals around the edge of the sky. The only thing that matters is that Daisy has disappeared. You begin to run desperately in one direction, not even sure if it's the right one, or even if there are any directions in this meaningless place. Your heart pounding and your legs shaking as you try to figure out where your daughter has ended up, in the middle of this vegetable hell. As the rain begins to fall, drenching your face, a sickening smell of rotting flesh fills your nostrils. As you shake off another bramble, scratching your hands without pain to reveal a familiar hovel in the middle of the woods. Riker Avenue. You make a dash for it, but just before you reach the porch, the steps give away under your weight and you crash to the ground with a thud. And what your eyes see, now that your face is pressed against the crumbling wooden floor, is a disjointed jumble of footprints written in the mud. As if a donkey or a horse had decided to bolt and turn on itself in that spot. You feel something grab hold of your legs. You scream and gasp as tendrils begin to wrap around your body, almost sensing the nature of an intruder within you. You roll your eyes back towards the shack, desperately searching for something to hold on to, but instead your eyes meet a small figure watching you just inches away. William Gaffney. You have no idea how you know. The child is much older than the one you saw portrayed a few hours ago, but you know it's him. In fact, he looks exactly like the one you saw just before his miserable end. The little boy just watches as the blackberries cling to your muscles and bones, leaving you gasping for air. Then he leans forward, bending his knees and stretching one arm out so that his finger can barely press against your nose. Billy Gaffney. Got you! He says this in a cheerful tone, just before a third presence appears behind him. You recognize it. It is the creature that devoured the child. Its murderer, the withish beast with the huge toothed mouth. You want to warn the poor child of the tragic fate that awaits him, but the creeping vegetation has already taken possession of your face, tightening around your mouth to prevent you from speaking or screaming. The creature rests its hooked paws on Billy's tiny shoulders and lifts him by his weight without apparent effort. Billy. No, the boogeyman has got me! As this happens, you see the figure of the monster flicker as if it were a reflection in the water, and its features change. The claws become fingers, the fangs become blunt to resemble human teeth. The hooves are covered with skin, and 4 slits open in them, which become the hollows of the big toe and other fingers. Boogeyman, the boogeyman. Just as his face is about to shed its hideous features and take on those of a normal human being, a large pulsating root crawls in front of your eyes, pushing with such force that it almost splashes into your skull. Darkness takes hold of you, but sounds continue to reach your ears. Something hard snapping with shocking ease. The sound of entrails being processed by a listless butcher. And a single sentence. Billy. Now it's your turn to try to get him. Okay. You ran out of your flat and down the stairs in twos, risking a dramatic fall. Contrary to your daily routine, you did not hear the alarm clock, as you were lost in those deep, tormenting dreams. Even Salem did not jump into bed to look for food that morning. And you even noticed that he had already climbed out the window you always leave open. You step out into the street and are greeted by the comforting coolness of the morning and the smell of smoke from the cars whizzing through the streets of Manhattan. As you get into your car and start the engine, you realize that, despite the unpleasant night, you feel much more rested. It is obvious that most of your sleep was peaceful, disturbed only by the scenes that are still so vivid in your mind. However, the light of day seems to dispel these memories, and somehow you feel even more determined to shed light on the shocking events of the previous day. You park not far from the headquarters of the newspaper where you work, the New York Gazette, a large anonymous building that has become your second home, or first, considering how much time you spend there. Dude, this is a long one, dude. As soon as you cross the threshold, you are greeted by the sound that you have come to know so well, as they are now part of your daily routine. The bustle of colleagues, the rustling of paper, and the incessant ticking of typewriters. People you pass either greet you politely or simply ignore you. You don't have any particular problems with any of them, but you know what they say about you. An unknown who has signed an article in a very short time with his own name, practically without doing any groundwork. And that's because you're the editor's favorite.
New York Gazette.
The headquarters of one of New York's most prestigious newspapers, a very anonymous building full of scoop-hungry journalists, always ready to talk behind your back and blow a good investigation. I mean, who wouldn't want to call a place like this home? You hurry to the door of Thurber's office. Next to the desk of his secretary, a woman of Italian and Asian descent. One of those connubi that only America can produce. She is quite young and pretty, and since you have been in New York, you have tried several times to ask her out, always receiving a mighty 2 in spades. In any case, host brings the turner. Richard Pickman. Good morning, Lily. Is Edward in the office, or did I miss him? Lily Kokumi, you're in luck. It's coming out right now. Another interview about the sex thing. Lillian Kokumi. Thurber's secretary is a rather energetic and very beautiful girl, but with a very bad temper. I know that her mother is from Florence, Italy, and was married to a Japanese businessman who abandoned her when Lily was a child. Perhaps this is why she is a very stubborn person who always has something to say about everyone. No wonder she has been nicknamed Sister Lily around the newsroom. But better not let her know. About the sex thing, what the fuck is that? Again? But it's been almost a year now with all this bickering about the play. I'm surprised he hasn't had enough of it by now. Lily, oh, you know how it is. Defending art in all its forms from those who do not understand its true value, etc., etc. We all know that he would rather be a critic than a journalist, or an art history teacher. He is turning the newspaper into a kind of daily insert of art in America and elsewhere. Come on, don't exaggerate. I mean, yes, he's a bit fixated, but he's always very thorough. I guess that's a virtue in our line of work. Right, I'll catch up with him. Invite Lily out for dinner or go to Thurber. I wanna do this, but let's try to invite her for dinner though.
We gotta do it. Come on, dude.
Woo! Oh, I forgot. What are you doing tonight? I recently discovered a nice little place with really good food. Really? And tell me, where did you find him? Riker Avenue? At these words, you suddenly freeze as your mind fights against the memories of all those sensations that are surfacing so powerfully. The secretary notices this, perhaps because of your face, which must have turned white immediately, and your alarmed eyes. But instead of caring, she grimaces. Lily. Oh, for fuck's sake. Why are you looking at me like I'm a monster? Anyway, I have a really pressing engagement tonight, and if you want to know what it is, know that I haven't decided yet. No, get lost. No. Damn it. Once inside, you find your boss in the middle of a phone call, which must have stopped him just as he was about to leave, as he already had his coat on. Has his coat on. He looks at you for a moment and smiles, then waves for you to wait. Thurber, yes darling, I understand. I'll get the chicken for lunch, but I really must go now. They're waiting for me. And I have to talk to Richard first. Yes, I'll say goodbye to him. He gestures to the chair where you sit, as you have done countless times since his first suggestion you work for him as a journalist after Margaret's disappearance, and you are moved to the big city. You don't even take off your coat. Sure that your conversation will last very little. Just like I was sure this demo wasn't too long. Thorber, okay, I'll see you when I get back. Usual time, yeah. Your friend slams his hand down hard on the desk, startling you. His voice is now much louder than usual. But this does not worry you too much. You have seen scenes like this before. Especially when you were having dinner at Thurber's house. Thurber, I'll get him. The bloody chicken! You don't have to repeat it at the end of every goddamn sentence I say. What? What do you mean I forgot? That was literally once in 30 years, and you keep throwing it in my face every single day! You know what? I'll have some fucking fish. At least that'll give you something to really complain about. Excuse me, I have to go. Yeah, have a nice day. He hangs up violently, shakes his head, rubs his temples with his fingers, and closes his eyes as if to regain his lost composure. You watch as he tries to stop the smile from forming on his lips, knowing that he doesn't appreciate having to make such a scene in public. And so, without even sitting down, he lets out a sigh and regains his usual calm tone. Richard Pickman,
Trouble in paradise?
Thurber, thinks though that I, who saw the face of God and tasted the eternal joys of heaven, am not tormented with 10,000 hells in being deprived of everlasting bliss. O Faustus, leave this frivolous demands which strikes a terror to my fainting soul. Shakespeare? Thurber raises his eyes to the ceiling and lets out a long sigh. Marlowe! But at least you didn't mistake him for scrambled wives. Like she did. Oh, she was so beautiful when she was young, but now she's gotten old and... Damn! Never mind. I hope you got good news for me. On the car recycling thing. Yeah, I have what we need. In a shed next to the house I was led to, I found fake number plates. I already called the police, but at least you'll get the exclusive you wanted. Anyway, I admit I'm not here for that. But to ask you to give me a new investigation. I was thinking of the one about the child who disappeared the day before yesterday. Yeah? How come? You think there is no need to talk to Thurber about what you saw on Riker Avenue, or rather what you actually saw. However, if you want to drop this sleazy car affair and focus on the research you are now beginning to feel is your real mission, you will have to get everything you can from him. And surely there is already a collection of information on the Gaffney case at the newspaper. I think Mahoney may be involved in the matter. I won't lie to you, Edward, this is purely personal. I would like to turn around my career. Oh, she. Do I just take this? I think Mahoney may be involved in the matter. Thurber frowns and begins to rub his chin, focusing all his attention on you. With that inquisitive look you sometimes find so damn imitating. This time, however, it is obvious that you have caught his attention, and he wants to know the details of what you have just told him. That was probably not the smartest thing to do, right? Was it? Richard, I found what was left of some children's clothes, as if someone wanted to get rid of the evidence. According to my source, they matched those of William Gaffney. Of course, it could just be a coincidence, but the timing is curious. But why would a car receiver kidnap a child? You let out a deep sigh. You know that you are about to lie to one of your best friends, but you are sure that such a rational person would find it hard to believe what you saw in that dilapidated house. However, you have no intention of hiding the truth from him any longer than is absolutely necessary. My contact thinks it might be a settling of scores. We found traces of blood in the house. That doesn't mean... No, I see what you mean. What appeared to be a tragic but essentially minor affair may have a much darker and more dramatic twist than anyone currently suspects. Am I wrong? No, you're not wrong. And I couldn't have said it better myself. That is why I am asking you to drop the car business and concentrate on the child's disappearance. Someone else can always write the article, and as far as I'm concerned, they can take credit for it. I really don't care. Do you already have some one on the Gaffney case? Not yet. I wrote a little article on the subject myself last night, using what little information I could gather. Second hand, I admit. I have all the more experienced man on the bigger things, like the Shanghai landing, so this has taken a bit of a backseat. Anyway, I was just thinking of handing it over to one of the new guys. My fault, I didn't think of that. Anyway, it's fine. As he speaks, Thurber opens a desk drawer and pulls out a folder on which he has written Gaffney file in his perfect handwriting. He looks at it for a moment to make sure everything is there, then hands it to you. You take a look at the flyer you saw taped to the lamppost last night. However unimportant he claims it to be, Thurber has, as usual, been meticulous in retrieving everything about the affair. And it was just for a blurb. Thurber, you have my blessing to pursue this matter. But you must write the article today. We're already too late. So if I were you, I'd talk to the people involved first. Just be careful, as I understand the Gaffney house is being staked out by the police to prevent onlookers from entering. What is the police view? Inspector Sullivan? Well, this Gaffney must have gone off on his own. But I don't know how much sense that version of events makes. There is this other child, William Beaton, who says that the boogeyman took him away. However, he does not seem inclined to pay any attention to such testimony. I suppose because it comes from a child. You nod, pick up your clipboard and rise from your chair. Maybe you should thank him, but you know that pleasantries are often useless with Thurber. He is a lover of manners, but he appreciates results much more, so you just smile and nod. You open the door and turn around one last time to see him picking up some papers from his desk before leaving. Oh, Edward, remember the chicken. You leave the office with a cat-like snap as you hear a copy of yesterday's paper crash against the glass of the door. Lily winces for a moment, then looks up at you and rolls her eyes at the ceiling before returning to her typing as you walk away smiling. The entrance to the Gaffney apartment building is swarming with people. It's not like Greta Garbo has suddenly appeared in a club. But there's still a good crowd of people there to snoop around, or in the case of your colleagues, to try and get an interview with the baby's parents. And you know they would do anything to get into that house and pester those poor people with questions. Luckily there is a policeman who is on guard at the entrance and exit of the house, and he is apparently quite young. Diary update at Gaffney's house, like, holy fuck, a new location, dude? How long is this motherfucker though? Fuck me. I wasn't expecting this at all, dude. The Gaffney's apartment is in a handsome 3-story red brick building at 9915 Brooklyn. Not a prize-winning example of contemporary architecture, but better than Riker Avenue. You step forward to get a better look at the situation, but the crowd is really intense. You estimate that there are nearly 30 of them, and even getting a little closer is problematic. A big guy, probably working on the canal, pushes you for more space. An old man with a grey mustache comes at you viciously, and a woman looking for some juicy gossip screams at you in a language you don't recognize when you accidentally bump into it. The first thing that comes to mind is that you can get a little insight into the situation by listening to what people are saying. A lot of your colleagues, why am I having such a fucking hard time saying that word? Colleagues do that, it's true, but they tend to gather random information and then stitch it together to write an attention-grabbing piece. A practice Thurber has strictly forbidden all his staff to engage in. Everyone is talking about the Gaffney affair. It is inevitable, but something catches your attention. It seems that last night the ambulance stopped in front of the building and a woman was taken away. So you approach a man who is talking about it, perhaps one of the neighbors. Rachel, hello sir, I heard you talking about an ambulance. Can you tell me more about what happened? The neighbor, well, I don't know much about it, but last night we saw Mrs. Beaton being put on a stretcher and the ambulance taking her away. Who knows what happened to her, poor thing. Maybe it was the fear of what her son, who was playing with the Gaffney, was risking when, do you happen to know where she was admitted? Huh? I think Prospect Heights Hospital. That's the closest. It was lucky the husband was at home. The guy's always working. If it had happened when he was at the office, don't get me wrong, they are good people. You listen to him for a while longer, and as he tells you a little personal anecdote, vaguely related to the Beaton family. What really matters to you is the fact that their son was in the company of William Gaffney when he was kidnapped, as your editor-in-chief had mentioned to you. You promise yourself to visit the hospital if you can find the time. It could be useful for your research. If you are not mistaken, visiting hours are in the afternoon. So, you spend a few minutes eavesdropping on other conversations, but you realize that being there won't get a spider out the hole. You need to find a way to get into the building, so you make a tour of the building to see if there is a side entrance. But the only opening you find is a window more than 2 meters high. Turn to the left. It probably leads to the inner corridor, but you'll never be able to climb that far on your own. Try an officer. That's not easy though. Can we sneak in? We're sneaking in. You approach what is clearly another journalist. Judging by the camera around his neck and now in his hand, intent on capturing the red brick building. He has dark circles under his eyes and looks quite rehearsed. Perhaps he has been here all night waiting for something relevant to happen. A devotion to his work that borders on fanatism. The perfect individual. Richard, good morning colleague. I'm Richard Upton Pickman of the New York Gazette. Is there any chance to interview the Gaffneys? He winces for a moment, scrutinizes you from head to toe, and scratches the back of his head indecisively, as if you had set him a geometry problem with a difficult solution. He blinks sleepily and shakes his head disconsolately without saying a word. He doesn't seem to want to give you too much credit. And now that you think about it, it makes sense. Maybe he's afraid you're going to extort some valuable information from him. You give them a bit of info from Turbo's dossier, relying on your ability to turn phrases. Make up some fake but plausible news so that it's difficult to expose but can be interesting. Let's try that though. Fucking lie. I ask mainly to confirm what the other children in the building were saying. The story of the Beaton Boys boogeyman? No, I mean the other thing, the flatmate thing. He still looks at you in confusion, but you can see a glimmer of curiosity in his eyes. In those few years in New York, you have learned a lot about the journalist's pedigree, and you can tell when they are hungry for news. You approach him with an almost You approach him with an almost conspiratorial, and you know he has taken the bait when he leans towards you. I have gathered the testimony of the other children. They all seem convinced that it was a woman who lives there who took Gaffney. Oh, dude. Few days ago, she allegedly shouted at the child because he had soiled her new coat. Reporter, that doesn't sound very plausible. Richard, neither did I at first, and I still haven't found out who it is. But I might as well hear this person's testimony, don't you think? In a situation like this, I don't want to rule anything out though. After all, people sometimes do really incomprehensible things. We are journalists. We know that better than anyone else. He considers your words for a moment. Then he nods. Do the police know? He asks. No, I found that out. As if the police would listen to the children's testimony. But that's why I need to talk to Gaffney's. They'll know more. And they will be able to point me in the right direction. Reporter, how are you going to do that? The entrance is guarded. Otherwise we wouldn't all be waiting here. Even if it was the second coming of Christ. I would help you, but... You give him a wry smile and gesture for him to follow you. You then lead him past the window you noticed earlier, explaining that this is a unique opportunity to infiltrate the building unseen, but that you will need his cooperation for this ruse.
Alright, I won't be the one risking my neck or getting arrested by the police. But I do want you to tell me what you find out, and take this with you. I hope you can use it.
Alright. Oh. He takes out his camera and hands it to you. You hadn't anticipated this possibility, but it actually makes sense to you that he wants pictures of the Gaffney family. Some newspapers are obsessed with pictures to publish with their articles, and the more they have, the better. Thurber, on the other hand, always says that you have to be essential and show only what is necessary, so as not to make your paper look like an illustrated children's magazine. You don't know how to use that thing very well anyway. But in the past, some colleague has shown you how to do it in a very basic way, so you nod and take it. Okay. Richard, that's fine, but we'll agree on how to share the shots. I mean, it's true that you're helping me, but you're getting the same information that I'm getting, plus the photos. If it is going to be so disadvantageous for me, I might as well buy a ladder and keep what I find out for myself. He trembles and his lips twitch. He must not have considered the possibility that he doesn't have that much bargaining power. Or rather he does, but he doesn't know it, and fortunately for you, he doesn't seem to be used to these little games. At which you, on the other hand, are quite adept. After all the trouble you've taken to place your paintings with reluctant customers in order to earn a meal for yourself and your family has paid off. So, after a short haggling, he positions himself under the window, bends down and holds out his hand for you to climb in. You put one foot in the recess and feel yourself lift up just enough to reach the window and open it all the way. Then you grab the ledge and pull yourself up, hearing your colleague's relieved sigh from below. Without looking back and taking care not to hit the camera, you climb over and drop into the corridor of the apartment building. Alright. Oh. 2 hours, yo. Holy. You walk down the corridor, checking your folder for any indications of which apartment belongs to the Gaffneys, and you discover that Thurber was even more meticulous than he let on. As usual, in fact, after just a minute, you find yourself knocking on one of the anonymous doors of the building. taking a deep breath to try and shake off the tension from the adventure you just experienced. Maybe you should really put less passion into what you do, or Thurber will start to believe that you really enjoy being a journalist. In reality, all you care about is finding out what happened to William Gaffney. And now comes the moment of truth. A visibly tired man, probably only a little older than you, opens the door. The first thing you notice is his really important nose. Ugh. One of those things that would be the butt of a joke. But the sad eyes of Mr. Gaffney, as you imagine him to be, take away any desire to lighten the mood. In his dejected face you can read all the pain a father can feel at the loss of a son. You have a pang in your heart, seeing yourself in that moment, so similar to him. When he asks you who you are, you hesitate for a moment. Richard Pickman, good morning, my name is Richard Upton Pickman, and I'm a journalist with the New York Gazette. I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm here to ask if you would be willing to answer some questions. The man sighs. There is no irritation in his attitude, only exhaustion. As if he has been involved in that scene an infinite number of times in the past few days. And you can well imagine that is true. Who knows how many other journalists, most likely the same ones who are still besieging the building, have bothered him for the same reason. However, if your competitors have written articles about them, complete with photos, it's clear that the Gaffneys are not entirely resistant to talking about the incident with the media. You just have to find a way to convince them to do it once again. I have info about your son's disappearance. I'm working with the police and I'm trying to shed light on the case. Please, I absolutely need to do this interview. Let's fucking try this one though. I have information about your son's disappearance. He frowns, looking worried. However, it doesn't seem like your statement has made an impact. Because his gaze has become harder and he leans out of the door as if to prevent you from entering. Or to prevent someone inside from seeing you. You're not the first person to say something like that, but Edmund is his name, by the way. Do we have him now, Hannah? No. Immediately after, a woman's voice interrupts your conversation. It comes from the apartment, which you can't see due to the darkness in which it seems to be enveloped. Her tone, although broken from too much crying, is rather agitated. Elizabeth Gaffney. Did you come here to make fun of us too? Mr. Gaffney sighs and steps aside, giving you a glimpse of what must be the living room of the family's small home. You have to strain your eyes to see through the darkness as the heavy curtains are drawn to cover the windows, preventing the morning light from illuminating the cramped space. The air is still warm and stuffy, enveloping you with a light and heavy caress at the same time. It almost seems as if time has stood still in this scene. The perfect subject for a Munch painting. Edward Munch. Whoop whoop. The woman is sitting at the table, looking at you anxiously from behind her thick glasses. While two children are playing on the floor with some cloth and wooden toys, more or less ignoring your conversation. Perhaps they've seen so many strangers pass by that they've stopped paying attention to anyone who knocks on their door. Richard Pickman. No ma'am, I would never dare. I understand the pain of your loss, but I need to know the exact dynamics of the disappearance in order to... She stands up abruptly, with a new energy you would never have guessed. She doesn't shout, but her voice is definitely too loud and can be heard all the way down the corridor. Billy is lost. That's what happened. Don't you dare tell me that my son is... yeah. Her husband rushes towards her and embraces her. The woman doesn't reject the embrace, but she holds back the sobs that are forming in her throat and continues to tremble. You imagine that after everything that has happened, she almost has no more tears left, and her despair is evident. And now you regret making such a serious mistake. You realize that you've blown your chance. We fucked up, dude. I apologize for what I said. I didn't mean to insinuate anything, really. Please accept my apologies. You turn to leave, thinking sadly about what would have happened if those poor people knew what really happened to their child. But aside from the fact that they would hardly believe you, you understand that they still want to hope that Billy has run away, perhaps trapped in some building, taken care of by some stranger who found him wandering. In fact, even waiting for a ransom demand would be better than what you saw on Riker Avenue. That's fucking true. You don't have much else to do in that building. You try to go up to the Beaton's apartment. But as you had imagined, no one answers. Moreover, it was clear that after the lady's hospitalization, the husband, whether for work or to take care of his wife, would not have left the son alone at home. You walk down the hallway, wondering how to leave without arousing suspicion in the guard police officer, who would surely notice that you are leaving, but you never enter. And you would like to avoid a third-degree interrogation. Also because in situations like this, the officers tend to have an easy time interrogating people. Fortunately, you notice that there is a window that overlooks the back. You open it and lean out. It's just over 2 meters from the ground, so you could even lower yourself, even though you don't consider yourself much of an athlete. Although, on second thought, in the last few days you have done much more physical exercise than you would have liked. Maybe it's worth a try. After all, what do you have to lose except for breaking your neck bone? You sit on the ledge, you check that no passerby is paying attention to you, and ignoring the sense of vertigo that is beginning to make your heart race. So, a vertigo, that's scare of heights, right? Is it? I think it is. You jump down and roll onto the street, holding back a groan of pain as your hands hit the pavement to prevent yourself from falling. You stand up thinking that things could have gone worse and wipe your hands from your coat. The situation has not really gone as you had hoped, but you have no intention of giving up. You may have little to go on, but your investigation must continue. You head towards a car, clutching the keys in your hand and glancing at the sky from time to time. The feeling of being watched grows stronger, as if eyes haven't stopped following your every move for a moment, waiting for something. Instinctively, you turn back to the crowd, but nothing strange seems to catch your eye. Yet that sensation was so damn real, though. You get into the car, flip through your notepad, and contemplate your next moves. There are people you should interview and places you should visit, but how much time will you have? Will that monster remain quiet for a while? Or will it kill again? And how long until another innocent person is torn from their family, tortured, and devoured? The Chrysler's engine roars, and you merge into the traffic of New York, aware that you're about to embark on an unwanted journey that promises to be worse than any nightmare. Only your determination and wit will allow you to reach the end. As you drive away, you can leave feedback on the experience you just lived by filling out this form. This might help you have a better or more intense experience when you continue the adventure. Until then, thank you for playing Omen Exitio. Hunger. Dude, like, I'm not much of a reader, but this, like, 2 hours, man, they flew by, dude. I actually enjoyed this. It's a bit tough to read it all out loud, though. But dude, this was kind of cool. I liked it, I have to say. The end. Oh. We got sent to a feedback page. Let's see what happened to the game. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Omen, Exitio, dude. Hunger. So, I have to say, I'm positively surprised or whatever. It comes out this year. Sometime this year. I don't know when. Made some other games too, I see, but I'm not sure about those. Like in 2018. Well, I don't know. Maybe sometime when it comes out, I pick it up again and play through it. I suspect it's fucking long though. So yeah. Anyways, if you are watching this with me, thank you for sticking out with my awful reading. And have a good one. I hope I see you around, okay? Bye bye.